Eye of Eternity 10-man is a very straightforward raid. When the raid fight starts, make sure you're either to the side or behind Malygos because he shoots Arcane Breath, which does a ton of damage directly in front of him. There's also going to be some raid damage dealt through Arcane Storm, so healers just make sure to do some raid healing when you see that hit everyone. Every now and then he's going to use Vortex, which lifts everyone in the air. You start spinning around. You can't really cast anything or do anything unless it's instant. Paladins, you can actually use Concentration Aura with Aura Mastery, and that will allow everyone to use abilities. You can also, while you're falling from Vortex, use Slow Fall, Levitate, Ice Block, Shadow Step, all sorts of things to either escape Vortex or mitigate damage from Vortex. Now, the main part of the fight that's important to keep track of is the Power Sparks. You need to kill them before they reach Malygos, and then once you destroy them, you need to stand in the patch of Electricity to gain a 50% damage buff, which stacks. So most of the time, you're going to have a Death Knight, Death Grip, these sparks to get them into a favorable position so that you can get that double damage buff. Once you get Malygos to 50% HP, he's not going to be targetable, and basically you're going to see some extra ads spawn. You're going to want to stand in these sort of Arcane Explosion orbs. They're basically called Power Overload Zones. To reduce magic damage taken by 50%. So you're going to want to be in there, and they're going to shrink over time as they absorb more damage. So once they get to a certain size, when they're too small, you're going to want to run over as fast as you can to a new Power Overload Zone, those little purple bubbles, to make sure you don't take too much damage. When you're in this Power Overload Zone, it's going to be basically you're protected when Malygos casts Deep Breath, which is going to be this really powerful AoE damage. It's just going to do 5k damage per second. If you're not in one of those purple zones, you're probably going to die. Again, everyone, lots of raid healing, so just make sure you're careful. Use your health stones if you need to. Healers, keep an eye on that raid damage. Now, what's interesting about Phase 2 is that Nexus Lords are going to spawn. You're going to have those tanked. When they die, they're going to have a disc drop on the ground, and then basically melee DPS are going to hop on those and use them to fly up and DPS these Scions of Eternity, which fly around in the air. They're the ones who are casting Arcane Barrage, which does quite a bit of damage, and that's why you want to be in those purple zones in the first place. There's also an achievement called Denying the Scion. So, it's for your both Plagued Proto-Drake and Black Proto-Drake to get the killing blow on a Scion while you're on a disc. So keep that in mind if you're after that achievement. Once all the Scions of Eternity are dead, all players on discs will, dismount and then start DPSing Malygos before he enters Phase 3. And make sure you're using all your cooldowns before Phase 3 starts, because Phase 3 you're going to actually go hop on the back of a red dragon. You're going to get some new abilities. This part of the fight's actually pretty boring, honestly. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, if you're a DPS, you're going to hit the 1 button, which is Flame Spike, 2 times, and then you're going to use Engulf in Flames, which is the 2 button, once in order to get a stacking DPS dot on the boss. Basically, your goal as a DPS is to make sure Engulf in Flames doesn't drop, because it only lasts a few seconds, but it stacks, and you just need to get your stacks as high as possible. That's what's going to do damage and ultimately take down Malygos. If you're a healer, on the other hand, you're going to want to use number 3, which is Revivify. It's basically a heal over time. Use this on whoever's taking damage, and then after you use it twice or 3 times, I usually use it just twice, then go ahead and hit 4, which is Life Burst, a big AoE heal. Now, the strategy here is basically everyone's going to stack on the marked teammate. And then when one of the targets gets hit, targeted by static field, everyone's going to sort of move to the left, usually just a little bit. You don't really have to move that far. And then basically just use your abilities and keep moving whenever static field gets used. If you're targeted by Surge of Power, it's a really good idea to use Flame Shield. This is going to reduce all damage taken by 80%. Lasting up to 6 seconds depending on how many combo points you have on the boss. But basically, if you have DBM, it's going to say use defensive, and so it's very easy to just hit that 5 button to put up your flame shield in order to survive. It's going to really help it, just in case your healers can't keep it up. Surge of Power does a ton of damage, so it's a good idea to use flame shield. And that's the whole fight in under 5 minutes. Pretty straightforward. It's a very easy fight. Hardest part probably is just making sure your UI doesn't mess up during Phase 3 or something like that. So hope you like it. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe.